The boy attended the main family's judgment ceremony for the first time, and he shocked even the world's strongest S-rank knight. All because he finally revealed the secret he had hidden his entire life. He possessed 7 wings. He even made a deadly vow. If anyone dared touch the Westcott family, he would wipe out the entire Elmheim family, no matter the cost. Even the boy's father was stunned by what he had just done. Even the #1 powerhouse in the world couldn't suppress his battle instinct, eager to test him personally. What none of them knew was that this so-called world's strongest man had been Aster's most respected father in his previous life. The father who preached justice in public had secretly thrown Aster away like a disposable pawn. Aster dragged his ruined body forward for one reason only: to get an answer. But his father's answer was merciless. The best fate for a wingless one was to be used as bait. Wingless was the disgrace Aster had carried his whole life. He was raised in Elmheim Manor, the most elite family on the continent. But from the very beginning, Aster had been unable to use magic at all. His father, Roderick, the head of the family, was the only 7-winged mage on the continent. The number of wings on a mage's back determined the level of their power. Since Aster couldn't use magic, all he could do was train his body to the limit. For 20 straight years, he never slacked off for even a single day, even while the other heirs mocked him as the wingless one. Aster still never let up, doing everything he was told, without fail. That lasted until the day his father ordered him to take command of the Eastern Army and launch a strike to the north. But along the carefully planned route, countless enemies had already been lying in ambush. He had trusted and followed his father for years, never imagining he would end up as nothing more than a sacrifice. It was only then that his father finally told him the truth. He had never been his real son. Aster was just a child picked up on a snowy night. At that moment, he finally understood. All the abuse he had suffered over the years had been silently allowed by his father. Burning with rage and grief, Aster raised his sword and charged. He had always thought he was being hardened through trial, only to realize no one had ever expected anything from him at all. Aster unleashed every last ounce of his strength. He poured all of his fury onto the father he had once admired most. Roderick only sneered, "Your power means nothing to me." The next second, chains shot out and locked Aster down completely. In that instant, his body was cut apart. A wingless one will always be the lowest kind of pawn. You should be crawling on the ground like the most pathetic insect. Aster kept asking why over and over again. Why had he been taken in on that snowy night in the first place? Since you want to die knowing the truth, I'll make sure you understand it completely. He had only been brought back for one reason: to seize the power of the 7 wings from him. Aster was in disbelief. What exactly did it mean that this power was inside him? His mother had been an extraordinary woman, and she had given birth to a child who carried the power of 7 wings. And Roderick had hunted her down for that power, then taken Aster away in the end. Aster couldn't accept it. His entire life had been toyed with from beginning to end. In the end, Aster met his death, born in blood and dying in blood. When Aster slowly opened his eyes again, he wondered if this was the afterlife. But the lingering warmth in his body snapped him awake. This wasn't a dream. It was real. Where exactly am I? Looking at those tiny hands, Aster finally realized he had turned into a baby. And the woman lying beside him was already dead. Just then, Aster suddenly heard other voices. He could sense people searching for him nearby. The leader shouted, "Find that child, no matter what. This is for Lord Roderick." That name, could it really be true? Roderick. That was the name of his father from his previous life. He's searching for a baby. Have I really been reborn? There were still too many things he needed to confirm, but escaping came first. He absolutely could not let them capture him again. Driven by sheer survival instinct, Aster dragged his infant body slowly through the snow. He had no idea how long he had been crawling. All he knew was that his consciousness was fading fast. As long as he still had even a shred of awareness left, he had to keep moving. Then suddenly, a young girl appeared right in front of him. "Father, there's a baby out here in the snow." The man she called out to was Hevrid, the head of the Westcott family. "Why is there a baby out here in the snow?" And the child looked completely exhausted. Hevrid looked up and froze in shock. The long, winding trail across the snow had actually been left by a crawling infant. What kind of child could crawl that far in weather this brutal? In his daze, Aster slowly regained a little more consciousness, but the moment he opened his eyes, he realized someone was pinching his nose. 5 girls were gathered around him, staring at him with curiosity. They were all laughing and bickering, fighting over who got to hold their little brother first. Alfin said, "I'm the oldest, so obviously I should get to hold him first." Aster didn't care about any of that. He immediately struggled out of their arms and tried to run. "What happened after I passed out?" At once, shouts erupted behind him. "Catch, little brother." His desperate urge to escape suddenly made golden light burst from his body. The next moment, he shot straight out of the house. Floating in midair, Aster was stunned. "Is this magic? If I fall, I'm dead for sure." Right as he was about to tumble off the roof, a pair of large hands caught him gently and pulled him into a firm embrace. Aster instinctively turned to look back. The man holding him looked exactly like the head of the Westcott family. The Westcott family was, after all, a branch of the Elmheim family. Hevrid and Roderick had once protected the kingdom together. In Aster's memory, Hevrid would die in a certain war, and his entire family would fall with him. He never imagined he would end up being taken in by a branch of the Elmheim family. He had wanted to escape Elmheim, only to circle right back into the home of one of its branches. A noblewoman looked at Aster with deep kindness in her eyes. "From now on, you my child." Hevrid had always wanted a son to inherit his title, but child after child, he had only been blessed with daughters. Hevrid said this child carried astonishing magical power, and the mark on his back proved it. This child actually bore the legendary mark of 7 wings. Only then did Aster finally understand why he carried this mark in the first place. In an instant, memories from his previous life came rushing back. Roderick had once said with his own mouth that he only took Aster in for this exact power, which meant the mark on Roderick's back had been stolen from Aster all along. This child's mark is far too important. What are you planning to do with him? After carefully examining the child's back, Hevrid finally confirmed it. It was truly the 7 wings. And at that moment, Aster grew even more uneasy. He could not let that power fall into the hands of the Elmheim family ever again. After a brief silence, Hevrid finally said, "We should raise him ourselves. He is still just a child. If we guide him properly, he'll never abuse this power in the future." Maybe this was heaven's gift to them, the boy they had always dreamed of. The door was suddenly thrown open, and it was obvious the girls had been eavesdropping outside for quite a while. They had finally gotten a little brother, so of course they were all watching closely to see what their father would do with him. The sisters cared deeply about this new member of the family, and from that day on, he was given a name: Aster. 10 years later at the swordsmanship evaluation grounds, Lord Hevrid, the other nobles are already waiting for you. Right behind him, Aster slowly stepped down from the carriage. This was his first time accompanying his sister to the swordsmanship evaluation. The evaluation was a grand gathering organized by the Elmheim family. Every branch family sent their eligible young heirs, making it a brutal stage where the next generation displayed their strength. The moment the Westcott family arrived, they became the center of ridicule. People whispered behind their backs, mocking the Westcotts for having no true heir and resorting to adopting a child of unknown origin. In the eyes of these so-called elites, what the Westcotts had done was a complete stain on Elmheim's name. And to them, Aster was the most embarrassing fake of all. "Aster, don't mind those stares. That's just the position our family is in right now. Father, Alfin, I'm not so fragile that a few nasty words would get to me. I brought you here today so you could see reality with your own eyes. Aster, does a family like this disappoint you? Not at all. I just think their arrogance is nothing more than the bluster of the weak." Hevrid burst out laughing. "That's my son. In his previous life, Aster had come here too. But back then, all that greeted him was endless humiliation. This time was different. He had returned carrying the mark of 7 wings, and this time, he was going to make these people pay." Following his father, he walked straight into the inner grounds. "So that's the adopted son of the Westcott family?" From the shadows, 2 scornful gazes locked onto Aster. Aster sensed the malicious stare and slowly turned his head. In his previous life, he had died by their hands. On the arena stage inside, the atmosphere had already reached a fever pitch. Geniuses and trainees clashed in brutal duels. It was the perfect stage for the great families to measure each other's power. "Aster, this place is way too loud. No wonder my other 2 sisters refused to come at all." Aster stared at the arena and slowly fell into thought. All the humiliations of his past life began surfacing one by one in his mind. "Aster, what's wrong? Maybe it's just because this is my first time at a place like this. I'm a little tense. Aster, stay here with your sister. I have to attend the nobles' meeting. Take care of her. Alfin immediately looked annoyed. Father, I'm the older sister. Since when does the little brother take care of the big sister? Hevrid smiled. Aster, there are plenty of people your age here. You could try making a few friends, but remember one thing. You must never reveal the secret of your 7 wings. After giving that warning, he turned and left the arena. At the same time, the people around them noticed the two had been left on their own. Aster had no intention of socializing. To him, dealing with people was nothing but a burden. Then suddenly, Aster spotted his target. Sister, I'm going over there to have a chat with some friends. On a sofa not far away, 2 young men sat, surrounded by a crowd. So you are the Westcott family's adopted son? What exactly do you want? You must be the Dallas brothers from the main house. I'm from a branch family. I just came over to greet you properly. Greet us. The other side let out a sneer. How ridiculous. A worthless branch family mutt thinks he has the right to speak to me first? The Dallas brothers. What a bitter reunion. Alfin hurried over and grabbed Aster's arm. You greeted them already. We're leaving. So you are Alfin from the branch family. That sneering tone made the girl's body tremble uncontrollably. You used to hide behind your father, and you are still just as timid now. In the name of the main house, I order you to come drink with us. You may be the main house, but the relationship between us has never been one of master and slave. Aster, let's go. There's no need to waste time on them. Don't rush off, Alfin. I'm not done talking yet. You were born into a useless family. Your father is a failure, and failure runs in your blood. Alfin finally snapped. Take that back. Dallas gave a cold laugh and spat out the wine in his mouth. Branch family trash. Who gave you the nerve to speak to me like that? In front of us, you better learn what humility means. Seeing his sister humiliated, Aster silently clenched his fist. He casually took a bottle of red wine from one of the bystanders. Sister Alfin, leave this to me. He tossed the bottle over. Consider this my apology toast. Dallas instinctively reached out and caught it. In that split second, Aster shattered the glass. Red wine splashed all over the man in an instant. Aster, his expression stayed cold, as if he had just done something utterly trivial. So, are you satisfied with that drink? If not, I can always pour you a few more. Meanwhile, a servant slammed open the meeting hall doors, shouting in panic. Can't you see we're in the middle of a meeting? What's the panic? The children from the main house and the branch house, they're about to fight. What exactly happened? Hevrid's expression changed instantly, and he hurried toward the arena. Father, Aster is going to duel someone from the main house because of me. By then, the arena had already been packed tight. Not a single gap remained. Hevrid, don't be so tense. A little sparring between kids is perfectly normal. An adopted piece of trash dares challenge the dignity of the main house? A faint glow of magic slowly appeared on the back of Dallas's hand. The crowd instantly burst into shocked cries. That's the 4-wing mark. No wonder he's a genius of the main house. Surrounded by all that praise, Dallas sneered. Show me your mark, branch family trash. Don't tell me you're already too scared to move. The way you love showing off is honestly embarrassing. I'm not nearly as desperate for attention as you are. You want to die? Fine. I'll make you pay for that. Both of them took their battle stances at the same time. Dallas could hardly wait to cripple Aster right then and there. Weren't you acting pretty arrogant just a second ago? Why are you only defending now? From just a simple clash, Aster's arm went numb. The power of the 4-wing mark truly wasn't something to underestimate. Why did that smile disappear? Can't even talk anymore, now that I'm crushing you? Dallas's sword grew faster and faster, his attacks surging like a tidal wave, leaving Aster almost no room to move. It's built for extreme speed, but the power behind it is noticeably hollow. By now, Dallas was completely intoxicated by the thrill of certain victory. In his eyes, Aster was already trapped, with nowhere left to run, and no strength left to fight back. He decided to end this farce in the fastest way possible. Dallas leapt into the air and poured all of his magic into one devastating strike. The entire crowd held its breath at once. Everyone knew the winner would be decided in this very moment. But the attack that should have sealed the win was blocked by Aster with shocking ease. Dallas was horrified. Why is it that no matter how much force I use, he takes it head-on? Only then did Aster finally speak. You've disappointed me more than I expected. With nothing more than a casual swing of his sword, he blasted Dallas straight back. I was planning to test your strength a little longer, but now I can see there's no point. Aster's sword moved slowly and almost lazily, Yet every strike left Dallas feeling completely overwhelmed. His attacks looked unhurried, but each blow landed with the weight of a mountain. Even one of the top knights watching nearby couldn't hide his surprise. Now this kid is interesting. No one had expected a genius from the main house with a 4-wing mark to be completely suppressed by an adopted child from a branch family. More importantly, the magic radiating from Aster was enough to make people feel fear on instinct alone. Is this really the kind of strength a branch family child should have? Dallas's face was now filled with pure fear. I have 4 wings. How could I lose to trash like you? Aster said nothing. He only stared at him with icy eyes, and the magic gathering in his hand unconsciously intensified again. It swelled like a raging tidal wave, growing more violent with every passing second. Off to the side, Hevrid's palms were slick with sweat. I absolutely cannot let him lose control again. 3 years earlier, Aster's magic had already gone out of control once before. Back then, even Hevrid himself had felt a trace of fear facing him. It was the first time he had ever witnessed what it looked like when 7-wing magic ran wild. Fortunately, Aster had still been too young then, and Hevrid had barely managed to force it back under control. But now, the signs were appearing again. Aster's magic was on the verge of going berserk once more. In Aster's mind, flashes of his own brutal murder from his previous life kept surfacing. In the next instant, that violent surge of power nearly swallowed Dallas whole. Alfin suddenly screamed at the top of her lungs, "Aster!" That one cry managed to calm Aster's magic just a little, but the power he had already built up still came crashing down toward Dallas in one devastating strike. Dallas was so terrified he wet himself on the spot. He shrieked in panic, frantically screaming his surrender. "You should be grateful," Aster said coldly. "I can still keep myself conscious right now." Then he looked toward Elfin. "Sister, I won." But right at that moment, an even more violent wave of magic erupted from behind him. Aster's expression changed instantly. He knew that magic all too well. It belonged to none other than the father from his previous life. "Roderick, so you read the child my brother adopted? Who allowed you to step onto this arena under the name of an Elmheim branch heir? You're nothing but an adopted son. I am the head of Elmheim's main house, and I do not recognize your status." The moment those words fell, Roderick flicked his arm. Aster was blasted away in an instant. Hevrid couldn't believe what he was seeing. Roderick had actually attacked a child. Without a second of hesitation, he drew his sword and struck at Roderick. But Roderick, the strongest man on the continent, casually raised a hand and blocked the blow with ease. Using the recoil from Roderick's defense, Hevrid landed and immediately sprinted toward Aster. He had expected to find Aster collapsed in critical condition. But when he got there, he saw the boy still holding up his broken sword. It was that shattered blade that had barely blocked the fatal strike. Clearly, even Roderick himself had not expected Aster to survive that hit. He turned coldly and walked away from the arena without even looking back. Aster let out a faint laugh and whispered, "Father, I did it. I protected my sister. Aster, you've become a true man." Elsewhere, someone spoke with a cold tone. "Roderick, that was beneath even you. You actually attacked a child." The conflict between the main house and the branch families had already been severe, and now it was obvious there was no room left for reconciliation. Roderick only replied with indifference. "I've never once taken Hevrid and his people seriously. I only wanted the branch families to understand their place." And so, after defeating Dallas of the main house, Aster returned to the Westcott family. Once his body had fully recovered, he quickly threw himself back into the family's training. Even the most talented trainees in the family could only stare in shock. "Aster, you're insanely strong." At first, everyone assumed that after returning from the evaluation, Aster would take some time to relax. Instead, by the very next day, he had already thrown himself completely back into training. "I heard it from other people myself. Young Master Aster nearly beat that genius from the Elmheim family to death. It's honestly hard to believe. That young master is only 10 years old, and he's already that strong." Aster understood that his performance at the evaluation had been extremely high profile, but all of it had been part of his plan. Doing this would shut up the people mocking the Westcott family. But his real goal was still revenge against the Elmheim family. To achieve that goal, he had to keep forcing out his own potential. That was exactly why he came back from the evaluation, skipped rest entirely, and threw himself straight into training. With his current strength, he still stood absolutely no chance against Roderick. Even though he possessed 7 wings, the amount of power he could actually use right now was still pitifully small. More wings did mean a person was stronger, but more precisely, the greater the number of wings, the greater that person's potential. Even after years of effort, he still couldn't fully control the enormous magic contained within the 7 wings. When he was younger, his impatience had even caused that 7-wing magic to run wild. That loss of control had filled his sisters with deep fear toward their little brother. It had nearly killed his sister as well. Fortunately, he had still been too young at the time, and his magic had been unable to fully break loose. In the end, it was his father who stopped him after he lost control. That was exactly why he trained himself so desperately now. Lost in thought, Aster subconsciously swung his sword. In the very next instant, the wooden swords around him dropped to the ground almost all at once. Only then did Aster realize he had forgotten to control his strength again. A soft laugh came from behind him. Aster, every time you train, you get lost in it way too easily. You really don't act like a 10-year-old anymore. And father wants you in the study. Aster smiled. Sister, you're joking again. I'm still far from strong enough. Since father is looking for me, I'll go see what this is about. By the way, Sister Alphen, what made you suddenly decide to wear your combat uniform today? If I remember right, you usually hate that outfit. Alphen didn't answer right away. After thinking for a moment, she finally said, I just feel that as the older sister, I can't keep relying on my little brother to protect me forever. So, Aster, when you come back, I want you to train me. I want to become as strong as you. I want to protect my little brother as his older sister too. Aster smiled at that. As you command, my sister. A little while later, Aster knocked on the door to his father's study. Father, were you looking for me? Hevrid looked at Aster with a grave expression and said, Come here and sit down first. Seeing how serious his father looked, Aster immediately understood that something important was about to be said. Aster, it has already been 10 full years since you became a member of our family. I originally intended to wait until you were a little older before handing this to you. With that, a ring set with a deep crimson gemstone appeared before Aster's eyes. This is the symbol of the next family heir. Aster, I want you to become the heir to this family. Aster had always known his father intended to entrust the family to him one day, but he had never expected it to happen this soon. Aster, after everything that happened during the swordsmanship evaluation, you should already understand how difficult the Westcott family's status and situation have become. Whether I want to admit it or not, the Westcott family is still ultimately a branch of the Elmheim family. Every other branch family already has an appointed heir. I can't leave the Westcott family's heir position vacant forever. Even if noble titles are usually inherited by males, will my sisters really agree to this? Your sisters are all still at the academy right now. When they return, I'll explain everything to them myself. After a brief silence, Aster said quietly, Since father has already made this decision, my sisters may still end up unhappy about it. Not all of them like me, especially Sister Kuto. She's always resented me for being a boy. Hevrid nodded. I'm fully aware of that as well. Fortunately, you bear the 7-wing mark. Even if they want to object, they have very little ground to challenge my decision. Father, I'm sorry, but I can't accept the heir's position yet. I'm still not qualified to be this family's heir. When my magic went out of control before, I merely got several of my sisters killed. Until I can completely control my own magic, I can't forgive myself. Hearing that, a look of quiet satisfaction actually appeared on Hevrid's face. Aster, your maturity never stops surprising me. Sometimes I honestly wonder if you're really only 10 years old. Since you're not willing to become the family heir right away, I prepared something else for you. And perhaps this gift will suit your tastes even better than the heir's ring. In the next instant, shock spread across Aster's face. Before him was a jet-black magic sword streaked with flowing golden patterns, the blade known as Graham, the Devourer of Magic. A little while later, Hevrid brought Aster deep into the forest. Father, if this is just to show me the magic sword, wouldn't the training hall be a much better place? Hevrid let out a quiet laugh. I have no desire to go to the training hall. Every time you train, you leave the place in ruins. Sword and Graham, both of these magic swords are treasures of Elmheim's main house, and both have always been items passed down only to the family's eldest son. This time, I personally had them brought over from the main house. With that, Hevrid pulled away the long cloth wrapped around the weapon. The sight made shock flash through Aster's eyes once again. Because this so-called magic sword was actually incomplete, it had no true blade at all. But the moment magic was poured into it, a complete blade would instantly form, extending from the hilt. In other words, the true power of this magic sword depended entirely on the strength of the wielder's own magic. In the next second, Hevrid swung the weapon and unleashed all the power stored inside it in a single burst. In just one instant, a terrifying path of raw magic was carved straight through the forest. Aster, this sword isn't without flaws. If the wielder doesn't have enough magic, it can easily drain every last bit of their stamina. But you have 7 wings, which makes you an ideal match for this weapon. So, do you want to try it? Aster didn't hesitate for even a second. He reached out, took hold of the magic sword, and kept turning his father's words over in his mind. Then he slowly poured his own magic into the blade. In an instant, the sword erupted with violent waves of power, and raging magic wrapped itself around it. Aster stared at the scene in disbelief. He could clearly feel his own magic actively synchronizing with the sword on its own. At the same time, everyone inside the family training hall suddenly heard a thunderous explosion in the distance. What was that light? Did a meteor just crash down? You idiot, that was obviously something blasting straight up from the ground into the sky. Alphen saw the same terrifying sight as well. It had come from the forest behind the mountain. At that moment, Aster was sitting flat on the ground with an awkward smile. Father, this sword's power seems a little too absurd. Hevrid, meanwhile, was still frozen in shock. So this is your power, Aster. That attack just now actually created a brief vacuum in the magic filling this entire section of the sky. No one in the entire Elnheim family has ever done anything like that. In all of our family's history, you are the first 7-wing bearer to truly wield this magic sword. Once you fully master this power, Aster, you may very well surpass even my brother Roderick. But Aster felt no joy at his father's praise, because he knew better than anyone that Roderick's true strength went far beyond what people could see on the surface. Before I completely master the sword's power, I have to hide everything. The moment others learn that I bear the 7-wing mark, I will face endless jealousy and hatred. Some people might even try to eliminate me in the shadows. Aster, get up. While I can still protect you, master this power as quickly as you can. Aster understood perfectly well. To prevent the tragedy of his previous life from repeating itself, I have to grow stronger as soon as possible. Father, thank you. I'll master the power of the 7 wings as quickly as I can and protect this family. 3 days later, their mother welcomed the 2 daughters home with a warm smile. Father, Mother, your daughter Kuto has returned, and Sister Manhwa has returned as well. After saying that, Kuto even gave an exaggerated little cough. My lovely little sisters, your big sister is finally back. You missed me, didn't you? But everyone walked right past Kuto and instead shouted, "Welcome home, Sister Manhwa. You heartless little brats. I'm back, and you can't even give me a hug. Every time Sister Kuto comes back, she messes up all our hair." Kuto immediately protested. "That's just your bias. I'm a knight now. I wouldn't be that rude anymore." Right after saying that, Kuto noticed Alphen standing nearby and instantly moved toward her with a grin. "Oh, Alphen, your big sister missed you girls so much." Alphen immediately stepped back with a wary look. "Sister, why are you coming after me all of a sudden? Didn't you just say you wouldn't mess up my hair anymore?" Manhwa glanced around and asked softly, "Where's Aster?" The moment she asked, Hevrid showed a hesitant expression, and Kuto's previously cheerful face turned cold at once. Meanwhile, in the forest behind the mountain, violent magic was still pouring out nonstop. Aster was drenched in sweat, breathing hard. This still isn't enough. I have to adapt to the magic sword's power as quickly as possible. Right now, he could already use his magic to form a blade, but the sword's edge was still extremely unstable. What exactly do I need to do to control the sword as steadily as my father and bring out its true power? Aster, your performance this time was genuinely impressive. The voice belonged to Sister Kuto. Aster froze for a moment and quickly turned around. "Sister Kuto? When did you get back?" "I've already been back for almost an hour, and you were so busy training that you forgot to come greet your own sister." "Aster, did you really lose track of time because of training? Or did you simply not care enough to come greet us? I heard all about what you did at the swordsmanship evaluation back at the Knight Academy." Aster immediately lowered his voice and replied, "I'm very sorry. I lost track of time. I also heard that you performed excellently at the Knight Academy and completed quite a few missions. And, on top of that, you were the only one this year to earn the honorary knight insignia." Kuto's expression stayed calm. Earning that insignia was only natural. If I couldn't even do that, how could I ever hope to surpass father? Then she fixed her eyes on Aster. "I heard from father that you refused to become the heir. Did you refuse because of me?" Hearing that, Aster sighed inwardly. Father really said something he shouldn't have. But outwardly, he only answered calmly, "I just don't think I'm good enough yet." Kuto stared at him coldly. "Aster, both you and father know what my dream is, You should also know why I've always carried this resentment inside me. In the next instant, she slashed through a nearby tree and lunged straight at Aster through the burst of splintered wood. Aster immediately dodged to the side. Sister Kuto, what are you doing all of a sudden? A faint smile rose on Kuto's lips. It's been a long time since we last saw each other. So this time your sister is going to give you a little test, and from here on out, I'm getting serious. Tightening his grip on the magic sword, Aster frowned. Sister Kuto, I can't properly fight you right now. I still don't fully control this sword. Kuto let out a cold laugh. What kind of joke is that? Do you think your enemies will wait until you're fully prepared before they attack? Aster answered instinctively. But you're my sister, not my enemy. Kuto's eyes turned sharp. A knight's creed is to be ready for battle at all times. Against Kuto's fierce assault, Aster not only had to block and evade, but also divide his focus to control how much magic he poured into the sword. But at this point, I have no other choice. I have to do it. One look at Kuto's expression told me everything. She's fighting me for real. If I make one wrong move, I could be seriously injured. So, after Kuto returned to the family, the first person she went to find was Aster, who was still deep in training. She had already heard all about his stunning performance during the swordsmanship evaluation. And because of that, she wanted to test his true strength with her own hands. The forest rang again and again with thunderous crashes. As she swung her sword, Kuto couldn't help but laugh. Aster, your skill with weapons really is impressive. But I didn't spend all that time at the Knight Academy polishing my swordsmanship for nothing. But that broken sword you're using, what exactly is it? The magic covering it keeps surging and fading. It's completely bizarre. The way you're fighting right now, you look like a beginner who hasn't mastered magic at all. Pressed back again and again by Kuto's relentless offensive, Aster could only retreat. Sister Kuto, you really haven't changed at all. You still show absolutely no mercy. Kuto's gaze turned icy. Aster, when I'm facing you, I can't afford to hold back. It is precisely because I'm male, the only one in the family with inheritance rights, that Sister Kuto has always treated me with unusual harshness. Or perhaps it is because I bear the seven-wing mark, and she has always felt compelled to push me harder. No matter what it is, Kuto always compares herself to me, as if she truly sees me as her destined rival. Suddenly, Kuto gathered power and leaped high into the air. Aster immediately sensed an unusual surge of magic. In the next second, Kuto came crashing down from above, wrapped in overwhelming magical force. With fierce unwillingness burning across her face, she shouted, Aster, you are not worthy of becoming this family's heir. Elsewhere, Manhwa felt the violent fluctuations of magic coming from the back mountain and frowned. Father, is it really alright to let Kuto and Aster fight like this? If this keeps going, one of them is definitely going to get hurt. But Hevrid remained calm. They've seen each other as powerful rivals since childhood, but they would never truly harm one another. Manhwa still couldn't hide her concern. I don't know why Father is so confident, but I hope things really turn out the way he believes they will. Then, she suddenly seemed to remember something else. Come to think of it, why did Father call us back so urgently from the Knight Academy this time? Was it really just to discuss the heir issue? Hevrid answered in a low voice. Of course it wasn't just for that. Then he turned and pulled something out from a drawer. The moment Manhwa saw the crest on it, her expression changed sharply. That mark, is it from the main house? Hevrid nodded. That's right, it's a summons from the main house. After what happened during the swordsmanship evaluation, some of the people in power in the main house have taken an interest in Aster. They want him to come to the main house and meet them in person. This is a very serious matter, because none of us knows what the main house actually wants. Manhwa lowered her voice. You're right. We have no idea what the main house intends to do, and the worst case scenario is, we could lose Aster. In the forest on the other side, Aster and Kuto were still locked in a fierce, deadlocked battle. Sister, why are you still clinging to this? I already made it clear to Father that I refused. Kuto gritted her teeth and snapped. That's exactly why I'm even angrier. I've dreamed of becoming the family head my whole life, but because I'm a woman, I was never even given the right to inherit. So why is it that you can reject it so easily? As she spoke, Aster clearly felt his sister's power growing heavier and heavier. The crushing pressure came straight at him. Her strength feels like that of some massive beastman. Without the slightest hesitation, Kuto kept pressing Aster down with her longsword. Sword slammed against sword again and again, sending sparks everywhere. But in the next moment, Aster suddenly shifted left and redirected the force, narrowly avoiding a pure head-on clash of strength. Then, he drew his blade out from the left and slashed sideways toward Kuto. Seeing that, Kuto actually laughed. So you avoided a direct clash with me just now? Don't tell me you actually think a trick like that is enough to beat me. Before the words had even settled, sword aura exploded out of Kuto's body, sending everything around them flying. Aster, who had nearly landed a hit on her, was blown away by that force as well. I never expected Sister Kuto to still be holding back power on this level. Aster, if this is all the strength you have, then you've disappointed me. A true swordsman is someone who can fully fuse swordsmanship and magic into one. To be honest, based on the strength you've shown so far, I'm disappointed. The number of wings did determine a person's magical potential, and it also represented their talent and ceiling. But what mattered even more was never how much magic you possessed. It was how much of it you could actually call upon and make your own. Aster, you were the bearer of the 7-wing mark, while I only have 5 wings. And yet just now, you avoided a direct clash of magic with me. How little faith do you have in your own power? Do you not even trust yourself? Or are you still afraid your magic will spiral out of control again and hurt us just like it did 3 years ago? Afraid, is that really it? Why is the magical blade I create always unstable? Because deep down, I've been suppressing my own power this entire time. The reason this magic sword has never stabilized isn't the weapon itself. It's because I've never truly trusted my own strength. Kuto stared at him, her voice thick with emotions she had buried for years. Aster, do you have any idea how jealous I am of you? From the day you were born, you had the right to become the heir, and you even carry the 7-wing mark that's called the strongest on the continent. I dreamed of becoming the family heir too, but I never had that chance. Aster, I'm so jealous of you, it drives me mad. You can casually have everything I could never obtain, no matter how hard I fought for it. Aster slowly lifted his head and said in a low voice, Sister Kuto, I should be thanking you instead. It made me realize I can keep fearing my own power. As he spoke, he completely released the magic inside him and swung the magic sword freely. The once aggressive Kuto was instantly blasted backward by the wave of force that exploded from him. Thanks to you, I was finally able to overcome this weakness of mine. In the next instant, Aster charged straight at Kuto without hesitation. Kuto's face changed at once. What is he trying to do? He's holding that broken sword with no blade. It should be harmless. But why do I have such a bad feeling about this? Then deep crimson magic began gathering rapidly around the broken magic sword. And even while that magic was building, Aster's speed didn't slow in the slightest. In the very next second, he swung down hard. Kuto raised her sword to defend, but her whole body still trembled uncontrollably from the impact. Forced to retreat again and again, she barely steadied herself before letting out a laugh. I never expected you to unleash this much power. Aster didn't answer. He only muttered to himself, I don't want to waste a second life. In my previous life, I never possessed this kind of strength. And in this life, only because I met the father I have now that my fate has changed. And for the first time, I have a real family. Second life, what is he even talking about? But the only answer she got was Aster charging at her again, wrapped in violent magic. As she watched him rush in, Kuto immediately raised her sword in front of herself. At the same time, she hurriedly covered the blade with magic to reinforce her defense. Yet, just before impact, Aster abruptly withdrew most of his power, changed his angle by dropping low, and then re-coded the magic sword at the exact moment his strike came through. Only then did Kuto truly understand how terrifying Aster became, and fully unleashed the magic of 7 wings. In the end, Aster defeated Kuto in their duel. Several hours later, Kuto finally woke up in bed. She looked around and saw an environment she recognized immediately, her own room. Why am I lying in my room? Wasn't I just fighting Aster? Beside her, Manhwa asked softly, Kuto, did you sleep well? You were out for quite a while. Kuto pushed herself up and sat upright. Wasn't I just dueling Aster? Sister Manhwa, what happened after that? Manhwa shook her head. Even if you ask me, I don't know the full details. All I know is that Aster said he suddenly fell asleep in the middle of the duel. He also told me that you were probably just exhausted from your trip home. I lost. I only remember that at the final moment, Aster's attack was just about to crash straight into me. But right before it landed, he canceled most of the magic coding his sword. Even so, a small portion of the remaining force still struck me. Thinking about it now, Aster and me younger brother. No matter what happens, there's no way he can truly try to kill me. And yet, when I recall the aura that burst out of him earlier, that terrifying killing intent is definitely real. Even though he's several years younger than me, he has truly grown into a younger brother I can rely on. In the next moment, Kuto grabbed her sword. Sister Manhwa, where is Aster right now? I'm fighting him again. I'm not about to accept losing to him that easily. This time, I will all out from the very start. Manhwa looked at her and said softly, if you're really for Aster, he's already left the family. Shock flashed across Kuto's face. What do you mean he's already left the family? You didn't know? Aster was someone from Alheim's main house and thought it already took him there. The moment she heard that, deep frustration rose in Kuto's face. No one told me anything about this. Meanwhile, inside the carriage changed from the main house. I already know that the main house probably noticed me because of what happened during the sword evaluation. Every glance at him. Aster, are you nervous? The ones who tell you this time are the leaders of the elder council of the main house. All of them come from Shadow Realm. Within the Alheim family, aside from heads and major branch families, there's also a simple power structure formed by the elder council. Most of the elders have already retired, but their influence is still enormous. In the 10 years since I talked to you, main house never showed the slightest interest in you. The moment the swordmanship evaluation ended, he summoned you immediately. Aster answered calmly. Is it because I've humiliated the main house prodigies during the evaluation? I heard the leader of the main house can more about the main house honor than they do about their own lives. And any child who saying that honor is secretly thrown in cages by elders and fed beasts. Edward was really startled. Aster, where exactly do you think that? Seeing that, Aster immediately shifted the topic. In any case, I warn you prepare to be punished. At the very least, I will long since prepare myself for the possibility of being exiled for the family. Edward said in a low voice, Aster, the ones I'm here, I won't let me not punish you so easily. But Aster, she said, Flutter, you only flashed from the house because of me. I will already thanks to leave and train on my own once I sister confirmed. More importantly, I'm already staying with the family. This is critical battlefield ready to. And besides, I was only able to true master magic for this time because of Sputo. I can feel that I already control the power of 7 wings far more smoothly. Only know just how far I can go. So Flutter, please don't try shooting me from everything. Edward did him, good and all saying, Aster, you never stop surprising me. The things you say both sound like you're 10-year-old child at all. Right in the middle of the conversation, a faint sound suddenly came from the roof of the carriage. Aster said instantly she shocked. He was the quickly makes her door. It was just startled. Kudo, to the action made all the way after us. Kudo died after open satisfaction. Aster, you really are a kid. Left that insane body user. Finish after. Flutter, I only heard from Manhwa. It was all following me house Aster. Harry answered from voice. Even though I still need to confess. Kudo shocked immediately. And we wouldn't speak in my house. The whole reason something like that for was stopping from spiraling something uncomfortable. In fact, he sounded back so openly. Kudo was serious, isn't it? Sister Manhwa told me. Let Aster enter the main house this time. Which came to back. Sitting beside him, Aster let us all laugh. Sister Manhwa did that. I'm just going to house with Kudo staring at him. Aster, promise me back. Immediately after the more and you really are most qualified. Become family head. I hate you, Aster. You're obviously my word, and every time you like, we'll warm up to this. But it's still something I have to tell you. No matter how strong you are, no matter how sure you seem, you're still our lower. You will always be one of the most. Hearing that, even if it felt quite way relief in his heart. Taking a deep breath, Kudo said Aster, I'll be being brief. I will accept it still our will continue. I absolutely refuse to let you be once in a way. Aster, I'll be brief. Only after that did Kudo finally turn and leave the church. Aster sees out from him, sharing all the way here. This is that. Have a feast smile. Your sister's always here to be built. Aster's eyes softened slightly. Inside, I truly have best made for. Kind of courage. Kudo waving under her breath. Aster, you have to come back. And so Aster continued on this far all the main house. Takes a moment he said to the church main house. As for overwhelmed from him, more heard through other green inside face on. You close to you see him. His expression turned cold. They were in place. They don't even me. But Art still already had him by. More of it. That chat the great old war with the person abilities by you. It looks like this year even more full. Even more severe. It barely remember how they had last person in the house. Heaven more voice. Aster, I'll be all the challenge. Seven person here than that. No matter what they say calm. Ask him. Fire me today. Who's doing? Every day is evils. Great lord, I need this. Can I my father? You go Even after Aster side fits into the chain house. Not right. I'm chain there. He's not out anywhere. Those being are still in the chain. Aster, artisan. Voice came back. Prince said Aster fire in his sword doors. Love the motions. Aster doing material and exit. Process way exit. Then the doors to slowly down. In this all talking serious. Degree. Moment to set by you. Low moves with good. It's more fingers you. My son. If it is not inch. You are correct. Thank you. Now brother from my family. First head the house. After that name. This is master. First side the house. For 6 thing. He had more than this. This is this. You receive the world of the fashion down. After you guys feel the only secret situation. But in room. Still coffee. And the rest of the so are you hurt? Something so. I serve real life. He's not very serious. So this time we men answer him. That artist match just even really keep your true man about but only in for. This is something secret. That great thing is even more not him. He realized as graves. What is doing for this time. You very well. This is about Aster calls social. I think that they use the to improve. The immediate by harsh and nurse. Size. We make the mission. This was all over. Even on the fashion. All men are insane. But no better but you never house. The life and after much mental exercise. Every time there's a something else. Modern from even basically. Heaven just say. Or not not ever. Ask for solution. I was told that that almost counter. Your own minutes. So different to the. Your family last end level. But that's living. So depend on every single thing here. True that you have to answer. You have to now you are. Everyone can just so you have to response. Next one. First repeat. Who there's no there's even this is really even more than you said right that equals part in zero. Now you design. This is so sharp. You do. With the is very careful in early. I was just one more time. I want to say. First of all, I already had not that's just by the start. You have for that. You use some shot. Then you are perfect. This is yourself. Some going to rush it for that. You need to think something also. It's my action left. Say you better put it. Yes, there's better here. And action measure. You very best done. I will burn. Almost less than 4 but here help me. Well, able. The answer is what's because in the in
Use